Jehovah provided Daniel with the information he needed, and Daniel's life was saved. Well, that was Babylon. Now we're in Persia, and Daniel is once more facing death. Death by a lion. And once again, Jehovah comes to the rescue. He temporarily shuts the mouths of those lions. Well, we can imagine what effect that had on Daniel, but what about us today? What's the takeaway? What's the lesson? Today, Satan is walking about like a roaring lion, seeking to devour someone. We may never know how often Jehovah shuts the mouth of that lion, how often Jehovah protects his people as a group from Satan. When we're working from door to door, for example, it's dangerous out there. And we probably have no idea how busy the angels are in our behalf. And if someone does lose his life while in Jehovah's service or at a meeting, and it has happened, his loved ones can be sure of two things. First of all, their loved one did not lose Jehovah's approval. And second, the loss is only temporary. Satan can never do us any lasting harm. And one day, Jehovah will shut that lion's mouth permanently.
We're again hearing from governing body member David Splane, who is giving the talk, Jehovah's Powerful Works Inspire Faith. And this part of his talk was interesting for me. David Splane addresses the fact that it's possible to lose your life as a Jehovah's Witness, even when you're engaged in worship, even when you're doing the preaching work or attending a meeting, an activity for which you're supposed to receive some level of protection from Jehovah. I'm not making this up. This is the sort of thinking that's encouraged in Jehovah's Witness publications. Exhibit A, the 2013 Yearbook of Jehovah's Witnesses, on page 29, has an experience titled, "The Brothers Took Good Care of Us." Allow me to read a bit of it for you. On Sunday, June 3rd, 2012, there was a tragic air disaster in Nigeria. A plane carrying 153 persons crashed in a crowded suburb of Lagos, Nigeria's largest city, killing all on board and an unknown number on the ground. Collins Yue and his family lived on the top floor of the 3-story apartment building that was hit by the plane. When the accident occurred, the family was attending a congregation meeting at the Kingdom Hall. 153 people have died in this catastrophe. We're now zeroing in on one family of Jehovah's Witnesses who should have been in the apartment block that the plane hit. They weren't in the apartment block because they were attending a meeting. How does the article conclude? Collins said, "My relatives who had been opposed to my being a witness have changed their minds. One of them told me, 'Your Jehovah answers prayers. Hold on to your God because he helps you.' Another person said, 'Whatever you have been doing to serve God, continue to do it whole-souled. We have truly seen Jehovah's hand in our case. I am very happy.' Never mind the 153 people who perished in this tragedy. I'm okay because, as luck would have it, I was at my meeting, and actually, the fact that I was at that meeting is evidence of Jehovah's hand. Jehovah was looking out for me. I'm the important one here. Me and my family, we're the important ones. Never mind the 153 people who lost their lives." That's the sort of thinking this organisation encourages when it comes to the protection that Jehovah's Witnesses can expect, while at the same time, as David Splane acknowledges in this talk, there are examples of Jehovah's Witnesses dying, doing what they're supposed to be doing what their religion expects of them. An example being an article that was posted to the jw.org website in 2012, fatal bus crash in Miami. On Saturday, December 1st, 2012, a group of 32 of Jehovah's Witnesses was traveling on a chartered bus to West Palm Beach, Florida, for a 2-day Bible education seminar when the bus crashed into an overpass at Miami International Airport at 7:25 a.m. 2 witnesses were killed and 4 others are in critical condition. Police reports indicate that the driver of the bus, who is not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, mistakenly entered the airport while heading to West Palm Beach. J.R. Brown, spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses, states, "We now draw on our spiritual family for Bible-based comfort. 2 Jehovah's Witnesses are killed and 4 in a critical condition because they were going on the wrong day and at the wrong time to a Jehovah's Witness assembly." So which is it? Is Jehovah protecting Jehovah's Witnesses when they're worshipping him, or is he not? David Splane sidesteps this question entirely and offers this weak consolation.
And if someone does lose his life while in Jehovah's service or at a meeting, and it has happened, his loved ones can be sure of 2 things. First of all, their loved one did not lose Jehovah's approval. And second, the loss is only temporary.
Yeah, don't bother yourself with questions as to why your loved one was killed doing what Jehovah expected of them, whereas another one was apparently saved because he was doing what Jehovah expected of him, or because his family was doing what Jehovah expected. Don't worry about all of that sort of thing. Just console yourselves with knowing that the loss is only temporary. Who really cares about death anyway? I mean, death's no big deal. We're all going to be resurrected into the paradise or into heaven at some future point. So what's the point of life, really? And don't forget that above all, you have Jehovah's approval. David Splane says so. He's part of God's channel with mankind, and doing what he says is crucial to surviving a future apocalypse. So yes, no need to worry about this whole conundrum. God's approval, the loss is temporary. Now it all makes total sense.
Today, many brothers are facing the heat of adversity. Russia, for example. Now, many brothers have been given long prison sentences because they won't bow down to the state. Now, Jehovah doesn't prevent this from happening any more than he prevented Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from being thrown into the furnace, but he does help them. What do we notice about them as they're being led off to prison? They're smiling. They're serene. They're at peace. They know their God, and when they come out, there won't even be the smell of fire on them. Their faith will be intact. Their fine conduct also results in a good witness to the jailers and others who hear about the persecution.
Yet more salivating over the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia are under ban, are being persecuted, are being clamped down on by the Russian authorities. Unsurprisingly, David Splane isn't missing an opportunity to fixate on this and point to it as evidence that God is protecting his people, and his slam dunk proof that this is the case is this.
What do we notice about them as they're being led off to prison? They're smiling. They're serene. They're at peace. They know their God.
Yes, apparently the fact that followers of a certain cult smile when they're being incarcerated is proof that they have God's protection. Presumably when fellow believers in the same or other countries or in other periods of Jehovah's Witness history come off worse, to the extent where they're brutalized or killed, well, this must mean that they weren't smiling enough.
Before we can have faith in Jehovah, we have to get to know him. We have to learn about his powerful works, those past and those present. And as we study his dealings with his people in the past, we see that Jehovah always keeps his promises. He's promised to bring about a righteous new world, and we can take that promise to the bank. And through prayer and association with his organization, we can experience the modern-day miracles that Jehovah is performing. The more we know about Jehovah, the more we'll love him. The more we love him, the more we'll want to tell others about him. The more we preach, the stronger our faith will become, and we will be made powerful by faith.
One of the benefits of doing these rebuttals as my job, in other words, not just as a labour of love, but literally as my full-time job, thanks to the generosity of my patrons, who support me very generously and allow me to hire a video editor and buy lots of equipment and that kind of thing. The benefit of doing this year after year, thanks to their support, is that I study this material and know it so well that I'm able to pick up when something gets repeated, when a speaker like David Splane just trots out the same material year after year.
We see that Jehovah always keeps his promises. He's promised to bring about a righteous new world, and we can take that promise to the bank. When Jehovah promises that he's going to take this earth and turn it into a paradise, you can take that to the bank. Jehovah will keep his promise.
We are properly in snake oil salesman territory here, aren't we? When it's getting to the point where, like a dodgy used car salesman, he's just repeating the same line over and over again. He doesn't really believe this. This is just his pitch, his sales pitch, that he trots out whenever he touches on a certain subject. In this case, he's talking about the certainty with which we can look forward to the fulfillment of God's promises regarding a paradise earth. Because he is a huckster and a charlatan, and in the business of deceiving people, he can't keep track of the fact that he's using the same sales pitch over and over again. And I find it fascinating that no one else is noticing this. It's gotten to the point where I am following this material more closely than he is, and than the people whose job it is to tap him on the shoulder and say, Brother Splane, you sort of said that only in last year's convention. Maybe they wanted to say that, but they were too afraid of him. Who knows? The point is, isn't it obvious that this is all one big scam? The guy is just repeating the same slimy promises year on year. They are promises he cannot be held accountable for. They are unfalsifiable. He's just making it up as he goes along and hoping he can scam as many people as possible.